Hi, welcome to City Country 6 Podcast. This is where you get to hear inside conversations between city and country about life, kids, womanhood, culture, black southern things. Eavesdrop in on our phone conversations to laugh, cry, amen, disagree, and agree with your bi-weekly dose of what did I just listen to? Let's listen in on this week's most recent phone call of differences.
Hey,
Hey girl,
how are you?
I'm on the struggle bus, but I'm okay. How are you?
Oh, I'm struggling too. I'm tired, but I'm good. You hear my ambient sounds? It's my child snoring.
I don't hear it.
Oh,
Oh, wait,
wow.
hold on, wait. Yeah, I hear it now. I hear it.
So sorry.
Nah, I hear it. Cause if you'd called me 2 hours ago, you'd have heard me doing the same thing. So mine would have been not like that.
Oh gosh. I don't know what a nap is. I haven't had a very intimate relationship with the nap in years.
Sleep. You don't have a good relationship with sleep. Just the word sleep. Nap is like an advanced stage of sleep. You know. All you know is like 2 minute close your eyes and oh wait, I was supposed to do something and get up and go. Like you don't know what sleep is. Like I'm wondering if your body even knows what REM sleep looks like.
It does. It does. It gets there. But no, funny thing is, you were right. Like waking up saying, "Oh, what do I have to do?" So I woke up this morning with an idea,
Mm.
and I literally jumped out of the bed and grabbed like an 11 by 17 sheet of paper and a pen, and I drew it all out. I was like, "Oh my gosh, that was like some good thinking. I got some thinking done in my sleep." I had to wake up and write it down before I forgot.
I'll just forget. I'll
No, no,
just
no, no. It
forget.
was a solution to a problem I've been having. So I was so
Oh,
grateful.
well, I'm glad that the good
Grateful to the
Lord.
Lord. Yes, the
Yeah.
Lord gave me a solution. So I had to write it all down.
I'm thankful that he gives me solutions right. Well, no, I'm grateful he gives me solutions, but I hate the timing of it because a lot of times it's right before I go to sleep. Right in between that when you're about to really doze off and go. Because that's like when your mind really relaxes and you kind of give in to whatever thoughts kind of float through your mind and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And that happened to me several times. And I'm like, then I wake up, well, hopefully I'll remember. Of course I don't remember. So I didn't got to the
Never.
point of just go on and roll over, pull out your phone, pull up. Well, for me, it's Samsung Notes. Just pull that on out, type it out real quick, and then try to go back to sleep.
There you go.
But gee whiz, I just
And
be
if you
like,
can't go to sleep, then just eat a snack and watch some TV.
no. Oh
Oh, no.
gosh, no. Because then I'm
Oh,
up. Like I have to, well, okay, that's part of that second puberty. You don't hit 30 and things start happening. You can't just take eat and then, okay, now I'm sleeping, go lay down. No, I have to sit up or I'm gonna have indigestion or heartburn or something. So I try not to eat if I can help it and then turn lay back down. I really do try because that used to be my thing, like especially in college. Oh, I'm hungry. All I gotta do is go sleep on a full belly and I'm good. Like that is the best sleep. They say that ain't good sleep, but to me,
it
I'm like a
is.
breastfed baby. I'm drooling, belly be all out, legs like someone to knock me out, and I just sprawled out in the bed.
Not breastfed.
Hmm?
I said not breastfed, baby.
Yeah, breast. When they don't even let go and it just pops off their mouth and then they
Dropped out.
they spread out like someone shot them straight in the forehead.
Oh,
It's
gosh.
like how you sleep like that. But anyway, speaking of the Lord, uh, and because we having this conversation on the Lord's Day, and I ain't had no other ideas. I said, "Why don't we
Oh
talk
gosh.
about church? Why don't we talk about church? Whether,
Mm.
because this could literally be like a 3-part series. So, because
Let's see
I
where it goes.
yeah, let's see how far we get, and if we got to pick back up, you know, because the ambience stops, or you know, we gotta take a break or whatever. Let's see where we go with it. Because I got stories for days. I
Oh
know you got stories
gosh.
for years. So
You know what? We should. Let's just go on and declare that this is a 3-part series, and maybe we could do like church growing up, church in our like transition years, like high school, college years, and
mhm.
then church now as adults.
Yeah, that was
Because I
actually,
know
yeah.
for me, like it was all like they were very different, distinct experiences in each stage of my life.
Yep. Sorry, I'm eating a popsicle. I'm sorry.
Wow, I'm jealous. I want a popsicle.
Well, I couldn't help it. It was partially melting, and I was like, oh shoot, I better eat it now. But yeah, let's start off with what you did. Yeah, your idea. That's perfect. That was I wasn't thinking, I knew it was these like 3 parts, but I was thinking of something a little more negative. So I
Oh
like your
gosh,
version better. Well, it was
what were you
churches you
thinking?
well, no, churches you're younger. I was there. You're transitioning. And it would have been church now, but for me, it would be more of church hurt. So
Mm.
that's what I'm saying. It would have took a more of a negative turn. Because church hurt like church now can stem more towards church hurt because you actually remember it and you correlate a lot versus when you were younger, like you may have been hurt, but as far like in between us, like we still ended up going to church because mom and daddy went to church, grandma went to church. That's part of what we did. So you just went regardless if it hurt you or not. But then when you're older, and church now could actually equate to some real church hurt. So, but that's a lot deeper and negative, and I can go down that rabbit hole for years. But I like your version better. I really do. It makes me feel a little
Okay.
bit more like, okay, this could be fun, not therapeutic.
But no, I was gonna say that's a conversation I think that's worth exploring too. So
Mm.
maybe that could be a part 4.
Hey, maybe. We had to break that up though, because that's pretty deep.
Yeah, I was gonna say I've never experienced church hurt, but I've heard of others who have.
Mm.
So
Interesting.
that might be a fun episode to bring in a guest speaker or two. A
Yeah.
guest on the show.
Yeah. I have to find someone with a clean mouth though.
That's why you have a bleep button and some editing skills.
I'm gonna have to bring in a team on that one.
Oh yeah. Okay, so tell me, what was your earliest church memory?
It was actually, let's see, hold on, let me think. Earliest church memory. You know what? Let me go with this. Just one. I think I don't know how it was. I just remember the picture, and I was wearing this frilly dress with the frilly socks and the white shoes and everything. And it was a excuse me. It was I guess a mega church of that time because it was a non-denominational church for like 1991. Um, and I just remember the dress. I don't remember anything that went on. I don't remember. Actually, could have been before that. It could have been 3 or 4. I just remember that dress was itchy as all get out. I wanted to get out of it, and I didn't want nothing to do with it. And I didn't know why I had to smell all that doggone perfume, and all them old people telling me I was
Oh yeah.
cute. Um, I just remember how I felt and how I was uncomfortable and did not want to be there. Um, but that's also because, like I said, it might not have been 5 or 6. It might have been 3 or 4. What about yours?
I'm thinking this. I have so many. Like, I would say my earliest church memory is going to church with my grandparents.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I would spend the night at my grandparents' house on weekends, and we would go to church. And I loved going to my grandparents' church, because their church was a traditional church, but it was a lot larger than our church, my family's church. So
Uh-huh.
my family's church probably had about 20 people to 30 people on an
Mm.
average Sunday, whereas my grandparents' church may have had like 150 to 200.
Mm-hmm. Oh,
And
he
so that
getting
was kind
good
of,
sleep.
oh, sorry.
No, I just feel like he is sleeping good. But
Well,
anyways, 20 to 30
no,
people.
he's come and crawled in my lap at this point, so he's a
Oh,
lot
okay.
closer.
Mm.
But my grandparents' church, it was a lot of people there and a lot of kids. So compared to, again, the church I would typically go to on Sundays, maybe one or two kids, but this church, it was like maybe 30 or 40.
Mm.
So we would have youth choir, like there were like three different Sunday school classes. We would always have breakfast and snack after church.
Mm-hmm.
So
Mm.
everybody liked some good food. It was just like really fun. And like our Sunday school classes, like we actually had, even as an adult, I'm looking back, like the teachers actually had lesson plans. Like we would have activities that correlated with the actual lesson for the day. So it
Mm-hmm.
would be like 15 minutes of lesson, 15, 20 minutes of like arts and crafts or some type of activity. And then after that, we would get up and present. When all of the classes came together, we would get up and present our projects every Sunday. Well,
Hmm.
on the Sundays I was there. So it was like a really organized Sunday school.
Wow.
So that's why I liked it as a kid.
Mm. That's good for you. I don't. Mm-mm. It was, you said it. There was no children's church. There was no children's church in
Oh
the.
no, it wasn't. Never. Not growing up, not in my churches anyway.
It was never that. And even the like guest, well, not guest, but if we went to other church, there was still no children's church. It was, you sat like, well, I had to sit and listen. You going to sit and listen. Ain't no point in no, it was still that kind of mindset. So we just sat in there, ate peppermint, ate the mysterious strawberry candies, and nobody know where they came from. You doodled on
Still don't know where
paper.
they came from.
Look, I think I saw a bag of them in like Dollar General. Excuse me, and I'm like, "Is this where they come from?" And never saw them again. Never saw them again. Don't know where to buy them things. Um, but
And the butterscotch. Don't forget the butterscotch. And he
oh
would be so
yes,
upset when somebody had, because that was the last candy left. It was like,
yes.
either you're just gonna have a dry mouth or you're gonna just suck that up. And I'm like, oh well, I'll just be dry in the mouth today because I'm not eating
Okay, because I ain't eating
butterscotch.
butterscotch.
And it
And
was
then
that one man at church who would love all the butterscotch
mhm, yep,
candies. I was like, what's
always
wrong with
one.
you?
One year I did find it, and I did finally just like, look, I'm hungry. I'll take anything at this point. And because it was like eating the root beer sucker. Like it was no one liked the brown sucker. I particularly liked it, but no one else liked it. And it's like, I'll try it because I gotta have something. I'm about to die. We 3 hours in, and the pastor is just on his second win.
Oh my gosh, my
So
blood sugar's getting low.
yeah, like something's got to give. And I'm like, I don't know how many times Sister Mabel gonna shout, like, God, Lee. So I just gave out a name. I don't remember these people's names.
Sister May.
So it's like, yeah, and I remember doodling a lot. I remember, like as I got older, I remember my mom, giving us stuff to do. But I was like, why do we have to get dressed up to sit in this uncomfortable pew to listen to this man scream for hours and hours on end in this hot bathrobe? Cause it's got to be hot because he dragging around this bath towel to dry off his sweat, and he's spitting on people. He throwing this wet towel of his sweat on folks, talking about casting out demons. And at this point, I'm just ready to go home.
Oh my gosh.
So yeah, like those are the things that I remember. Like after that, like 3 or 4, like it was just, oh, and then don't we got to go for Sunday school? Why? Cause
Oh my gosh.
brother, what's his face? He gonna sleep through 30 minutes of it.
Oh my
So
God.
why we gotta like why? I was the
Yeah,
worst. I did not like going.
we had totally different. I mean, and not to say my grandparents are just like the ideal for me as a kid, but even the churches we would go to, like just like every Sunday,
Mm-hmm.
it wasn't that bad. But again, I have to say, I grew up in a very reserved denominational church, so there was no screaming. There was more like emphatic lecturing. So there were inflections in the voice. You can detect excitement at times, but there was no yelling in the towel and yeah, not nothing like all that. And we weren't there quite that long.
Oof. See, you had the idea where I'd have been like, oh, okay, I'm learning something. No, I had the
Mm.
idea of, okay, this, he's in there.
Oh no, no, no,
Yes. And I'm going,
no.
oh my gosh. And of course the deacon got to get up. And he not the deacon that's currently sleeping right now. That's giving
No.
us the swells and dang it, I forgot in the valleys of his, no, not that kind of slumber. No, they over there. Go ahead, tell us some more. And I'm like, no, shut up. Like you done said it 2 ways already. How many more ways you gonna say it? Like,
Oh, what about
hush.
the people who are in the audience and the preacher's like I'm about to close, or and then the people in the audience will say something like "Take your time." I'm like, no, please don't.
Yes, no,
You taking
don't.
enough time.
Okay.
Take no more time, please.
No,
Just
yeah,
no
no
more.
more time. Like we're
No
not
more time.
closing 5 or 6 times. No, you're not.
I'm about to close. No, you just
You
do it.
should.
Don't tell us
No,
about it. Just
no,
do it.
exactly. Just do it. I
Oh
will say,
gosh.
my one of my very fond memories was everybody had to go to church during family reunions, and you had to go to you had to go to the for me it was my great grandmother's church. That was the home church. That's church she'd been going to since she was a sharecropper. Like that's where she went to church. So
And it's still there.
it's still there.
Well,
Uh,
that's a testament to their longevity.
I guess. But of course, she's seen several. Not, I'm not gonna say several. Um, but I think I would say she's seen a couple of pastors go through that church. With her time being on this earth. And she has outlived until this most recent pastor. Which I think he's been there for. Anyways, regardless. The pastor been there for a minute. My point. At this particular church, there was women the mother sat on one side and the
Oh
deacons sat on
wow.
the other. So yes, it was the mothers of the church, of course, and the oldest woman was the mother. And then you had the deacons, and they didn't call them fathers, so I don't know what they were on the other side. I just know they were the men of the church. Let's just say they're the men of the church. Were on
That's
the
a
other
good
side.
point. If you have a mother of the church, you never declare a father of the church.
No, well, the father of the church would have been God the Father, and then of course the head of the church was the pastor,
So we
Reverend
need just
Bishop.
a mother.
Yeah. So, and the mother of the church was to keep the women, the young girls, and to show them how. That was the other reason why they sat, because the way it was set up there were pews facing each other at the front of the church. So the women were on the right, and the men were on the left, and then you had the pews that were facing the pulpit. So yeah, it was very interesting. And this is a very old Southern, and I'm going ahead and say the denomination. It was Southern Baptist. It was 100% Southern Baptist, not associated with the Southern Baptist Association. But it
Okay.
was a Southern Baptist church. And they the mothers were like up front so you could see how you're supposed to act, how you're supposed to, be dressed, what hats. Oh, the hats. I think they literally wore those hats so that they could sleep and you couldn't tell they would sleep.
Oh my gosh.
Because there's no reason for them hats to keep getting bigger and bigger and more flamboyant. Because all you're looking at is the hats. You don't even see their face. But anyway, besides the point. So they had all of that. And then, of course, you had your choir, you had the drummer, the pianist, or the organ player, organist. I said that wrong. Then we had a prayer chair where the deacon would come and pray.
Prayer chair.
Yeah, where the deacon would come and kneel in front of that chair and pray for the service and the pastor and everything beforehand. And there was so many. Every time the bell rang, you had to stand up. The bell rang, you had to sit down. Bell rang, you had to stand up. I was like, dog, I'm about to go up there and break that darn bell. Because you had to
Wait a minute. Who was ringing the bell?
The deacon that was praying.
He was ringing the bell while he prayed?
No. It was like certain things had to happen. So like if it was time to pray, he would kneel, he would ring the bell, and they would start singing whatever song that only Negro spiritual somebody would have understood was saying, because I sure didn't understand what he was saying. And the only other people that understood were the mothers of the church and the men of the church that were up there, because I guess they sat so close they could hear what he was saying. Because yeah, they did, and then they didn't the only person who had a microphone was the pastor. No one else had a microphone.
Oh gosh.
So yeah, they up there hollering and screaming or whatever. And so they would ring the bell, you had to stand up, and then they would pray or whatever. And then the swelling of the prayer service or the prayer time would go down, they would ring it so everybody could sit down, I guess, catch a break. And they would go on to, I don't know, minutes, like it was some type of meeting. They'd have the announcements of the church, who was sick, who was ill, who was in the hospital, who was having surgery, who was about to lose their home, who needed their light bill paid, whatever, business, and if the pastor didn't really particularly care for what, we ain't gonna talk about that. I'm like, why not? I want to know. That starts too much gossip in the church.
Oh,
you already telling us why sister so-and-so is out.
Oh gosh.
And why can't we find out why she out? Put her there. So and it was just, and then of course I think the deacon would come back and would ring the bell for you to stand up again. I mean, there was so many, and it wasn't like a service bell. This was like, no, it was a service bell. When you need help and they say ring bell for attendant, ding ding, stand up. Ding ding.
Oh my gosh.
I was like, oh my gosh, do we have to keep doing this? So yeah, and then after you sat down and the pastor would get up and be like, amen, amen, amen. He start talking or whatever. And the one thing I did like though was watching my great grandma listen. Because she would sit there and listen. She wouldn't say much. She would sit there and listen. And after service, she wouldn't rush to get out. And she would always meet with the pastor to either correct him if he was wrong on something.
Which he always was, according to her.
I mean, but a lot of times she would explain it and she would tell me later. That's the one thing I liked about our relationship. She would tell me later what the issue was. But it was just so nice to see her. Oh, hey, Deacon.
Sorry.
No.
Sorry.
No, you're fine.
That's the co-host for the day.
Yay. We have the official deacon.
We're talking about the deacons and the mothers of the church, and the deacon has arisen. Okay, so back to right. So back to grandma. So grandma had to tell the pastor what he was wrong about, and then she had to cite her references or her sources.
She would if she wanted to.
Notes.
She would if she wanted. Oh, she didn't have notes. You didn't. She didn't have to bring no evidence. She would just say, "Look, I may not be the smartest, and she wouldn't do it maliciously either. You know what I'm saying? She would just do it to be like, I hear what you're saying, but this is what the word says, kind of thing." And I was like, okay. And she did it very respectfully, because she respected the Bible to the sense where she knew as a woman she didn't have no business talking in the church, because that's what the Bible said. Women ain't got no business talking. She ain't no, but she gonna sit there and listen. But once church service is over, everybody gonna hear.
Oh,
everybody go to
wow.
here. And not everybody, and this is just like she puts him on blast. No, everybody be gone, and she would bring him off to the side, and because he would get to the point where he would ask her, so how did I do this time? Is there any information that I need to know? Like, it got to that point before she had passed that he was
Wow.
actually, and I was like, wow, that's actually very,
He valued her opinion.
he really did. And he looked at her as not just because of her being older than him, that she knew a lot, but he valued the fact that she read her Bible. He knew she read her Bible, and he shouldn't look at her as in she's trying to push him. No, she was trying to help him as a mother of a church, as a mother, to guide him in the right way. Because even though she can only guide the women so far, if she's gonna be sitting here listening to you every morning, she ain't gonna let, like, it's just like any mother. She ain't gonna let their son just walk out there and do whatever. No, she gonna try her best to correct. Now, whether you listen or not, that's a whole different thing. But yeah. So those were some of my memories. That's why one of those where I said, excuse me, you can't eat in the church. But the most we had was candy. You couldn't eat nothing in the church. And you better not eat nothing, because if you even did, the mothers of the church would get on to you beforehand. Oh, and we had them ushers wearing them white suits, with them gloves. Ooh. And you better not get out your seat. Yes, polyester skirts, white tights. The white tights with the nursing shoes.
Yes.
Oh my God!
You had to have those shoes. Now, at my church, they used to wear the white block heels.
Hold on, let me think. Nope, I don't remember seeing them.
We had something called like the stewardesses of the church, like the people who would fix the communion. They would wear the white nursing shoes.
Okay.
The white uniforms. It kind of looked like a nursing uniform. They even had a little hat to go with it. But the ushers, they didn't have to wear white. They would just wear black.
Yeah, no, they had to wear white, and then it got to the point where it was only on certain Sundays that they wore white, like 1st and 5th, something like that. So they wouldn't have to wear
the good old days.
They wouldn't have to wear this thing all the time. But I used to hate when you had to go to the bathroom. And I'm not.
Why?
Because if you wanted to, let's say you went to the bathroom, then of course, the ushers are there to guide you so you don't disrupt service. That's what their point was. And as a child, my mother would get up and go with us. Well, no, not in church. That's too many people getting up. Only one person. And you point to who you want them to go to. They'll guide you through and tell you where to go. And that's when things were safe, where, when nobody gonna do nothing to you. I was scared out of my mind. This one time I had to go. One, I didn't know who this woman was. And I ain't gonna say what she looked like, but y'all can imagine what an usher looked like. Okay, just give you that usher that you always remember. And she don't look like she's strong enough to do nothing, but she can do something. So I went to the bathroom, got through, came back out, got ready to open the door. And I'm trying to open this door. The door won't open. I'm like, dang it. And then I start freaking out because I'm like, they done locked me and I can't get back in there to my mama. It wasn't locked. They were having prayer. Now, mind you, I couldn't tell because they was in there hollering and screaming. I thought the pastor was, swinging from a chandelier or something. No, they were praying. And so she had the door closed. I got to the point where I started banging on the door. I did not know that woman opened that door so quick.
Oh my God.
Shushed me and told me to stand there and just wait. I was like, I know the etiquette that you don't come in when, and they come up, of course it was all this. You don't come in because it's disruptive to people who are praying. But one usher told me that you could let the spirits in that don't need to be in by just walking in for prayer. I went, oh
no.
I was like, okay. Like they go through doors. At that point, I didn't know that. As a kid, I'm just like, oh, they have to wait until the doors open. So what happens when the prayer is done? I'll come in. They still come in.
Right. Right. Okay. Yeah. I've never heard that before.
Yeah. So, but that's just country stuff that you hear, and again,
Superstition.
very much. And then service lasting from, let's see, let's just say it started at 10. You didn't get done until 11, 12, 1, sometimes 2, and then you had to go find you something to eat.
God, because you're starving at that point.
Oh yeah, you're famished, and then you have to turn around and come back sometimes, or you have revival at so and so's church, and
oh yeah, that was the afternoon program.
Mm-hmm. I'm so happy we didn't go back. When I was younger, I was so happy because I was just like, no, I don't want to.
You never went back?
When we were younger, no, not until more of my teenage years was there a lot of back and forth, mainly because we had to be sparingly with our travels as far as gas and expenses like that. So even though gas back then was under $1 a gallon,
yes, still good old days.
But if you're driving 30 minutes, 40 minutes to church, and back, that's a work day for somebody,
right?
And coming back at just and then the church bus didn't go all the way out to every place, and then of course
that makes sense. Help me!
Oh, help him!
Oh, help me! Wow. Yeah, I was just thinking like, go somewhere closer, but that's kind of the cool part about technology too. Like, first of all, you can't always find somewhere closer, or it may not be your denomination, or lots of factors why you can't maybe attend a church that's actually a little closer to your home.
Right.
But also thinking about, with COVID and the pandemic and all of that and social distancing, now people can go to church or attend whatever worship, service that they prefer online. You can stream it.
Mm-hmm.
Which it doesn't take away from just kind of being in person sometimes, but it's nice to know that that's an option now.
Mm-hmm.
For those who, who do have to count the cost of travel.
Right. Right. And that's what I'm saying. Like, that's also like when I was when I was in, like, it was country. Like, it was real, like what you see country now, where people are, a neighbor is not across the street. Your neighbor could be half a mile down the road. That was our life. Like, it really was our life then. Now it's not like that. Now the city is growing, and it's still, you're not looking at a house right across the street from you, but it ain't nothing to walk, not even a quarter of a mile, not even a 16th of a mile to another person's house and be like, hey, or but like, it's just it's just different. Like, you did have to drive into town and get certain things. You did have to, and then of course there was a lot of back then, well, you don't go to so-and-so's church because they that was, Facebook, that was Twitter or whatever then. So you stuck with what was family at that time. So that's another reason why it wasn't no swapping churches and things like that, because you didn't know what you were walking into and that kind of thing. And then I will say this now, in hindsight, that was very cultish because you didn't go in other churches that you didn't know nothing about.
Interesting.
Because you don't know how you would be accepted, because every church wasn't, we welcome visitors, So,
gotcha.
Yeah, you had to know somebody to get in, not necessarily be a member, but to be welcomed or not feel like, you're an outcast because you don't walk in here. Because you need to know how to dress, what they expect you to dress, how they expect you to, present yourself, what's acceptable etiquette in this Baptist church. You know what I'm saying? It's like, okay, so all churches aren't the same. Got it. But they are all the same.
Oh my gosh. So again, thinking about country versus city, it wasn't like that in the city. So the difference, I would say, you were saying it's not that many churches to choose from, and then some churches you wouldn't go to because if you weren't familiar with them, you didn't know what you were walking into, or they may not be as welcoming. In the city, it was different. Like we were so densely populated, there were plenty of churches to choose from. And so I'm thinking about like my grandparents' house. Their church was like a 6-block walk from their house, but we would always drive. And so to drive would be you have to go a different route. But anyway, it was like literally like a 2 or 3 minute drive from their house. But I distinctly remember going to their church, you would pass 1, 2, 3, 4 churches on the way to theirs. So theirs would technically be the 5th one on the route. It was that many. Like there was literally a church on their street, like 2 houses down from them was a small church. Then there was a larger church on the corner. The biggest church in the city, a block up the street from them. Like when I say the biggest church in the city, like they would have, even back in the 80s, early 90s, they would have 2 services every Sunday. And there had to at least be 700 or plus people in each service. So it was a fairly large to be a small city. Back then. And it's still a large church now. They're still very active. But all of these churches were Baptist churches. But we didn't go to a Baptist church. But my point is, it was a lot to choose from. So you could pick. Like they had, I don't know the different types of Baptists, but I remember just Baptists. I remember reading like the marquees, and then I remember missionary Baptists, and then there was primitive Baptists. I was like, how many Baptists are there? Let's just count all the different types of Baptists. But yeah, plenty of different churches to pick from. Whereas you're saying, like, stick with your own because you don't know how the other ones are. But it's like here, it's like a buffet of churches. It's big one. You can go to a different church every Sunday
of the year
and never stay in, like never go back to the same one. Repeat.
Oh yeah, and that's speaking just about where we are anyway. You literally could, like you said, and I'm not saying like back then there weren't a lot of churches. It was just not within walking distance like you. Like there was a lot. Like when you drove, if you drove a mile, you probably drove by 3 or 4. Or some streets off of some streets where there were churches. You just didn't know they were there. Yeah, within like it. I can imagine just pick one city in the South, and there's probably 20 churches in that one zip code. Period.
Yep.
Now, whether they have 2 or 3, no, it's just there's a church building that has at least one service every month, at least. Okay, whether there's 2 members, just the pastor, it's still there. There's 20 at least. So you had your pick. It was just the Southern country way of thinking. And that did bring me up a question. Why didn't y'all, I mean, I understand for denomination purposes, but why didn't y'all just be like, I don't feel like driving 6 blocks a day. I'm just going to go to the first one.
Because you're a member of a church. It's like, that's like saying, oh, for example, if you work in a clothing store and you happen to work at the one on the other side of town, I don't feel like driving. If I just go to the clothing store that's closest, you can't do that because that's not where you're employed. You just have to go to the one you joined as a member. And 6 blocks is not far.
I beg to differ, but then again,
I mean, you can walk 6 blocks. We've actually had to do that before because my grandmother didn't even drive. So if there was a time when like my granddad had gone before us, either he would come back and pick us up, or sometimes she'll say, oh, we'll walk. And where they live is very hilly. So it's not like it's 6 city blocks where it's flat. It was like 2 of those blocks you were trucking up a hill.
See, and you wearing them little kitten heels.
Oh yeah, the white patent leather.
With that one little latch.
Socks.
Yes.
Yep. And when you were going up the hill, it would dig into your ankle.
Yeah, it's the worst shoes in the world. Now, I do have a question about being having to wear that. So how did you, I already said how I felt about it, but how did you feel about dressing up on Sundays to go to church?
I didn't care. As well, I didn't like it. I would prefer, as a kid, I remember thinking, why can't we just wear jeans and t-shirts?
Mm-hmm.
Because they're more comfortable. Like, I just, in my mind, those were school clothes, and I liked wearing school clothes better.
Mm-hmm.
But it was like, I assimilate very easily.
Mm-hmm.
So it was one of those, I don't like it, but oh well, it's what we do.
I never
And
hated it.
I didn't, like I said, it wasn't preferable, but it wasn't going to change. So it's just like, okay, I'll wear it for a few hours. I know as soon as church is over, I get to change my clothes. Or if we were going over someone's house after church for dinner, my mom just let us pack clothes.
Mm-hmm.
And so I would just, as soon as church was over, I would go get my bag and change my clothes.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. No, I loathed it. 100% tomboy. I had to be threatened to not mess up my clothes, or I was gonna get in some serious trouble. So
Wow.
yeah.
And this is as a kid, right? This is
This
just
is as a
like
kid. Yeah. Because I would
0 to 10 or 11. That's the age group we're talking, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
So let's say let's jump back to like 8 or 9. Like, yeah, you had to tell me you better not mess up your clothes. You know, I hated the starch smell. I hated the starch ironing. Oh, it was the worst. Like, I knew what was happening, and it just sent shivers up my spine because I knew what was going to happen. I was like, I don't want to wear that. I don't want to put that on. I remember asking my mom, why can't I just wear shorts? It's not appropriate. You need to bring your best
It was
to God.
church.
Ah,
Yeah. Like, who wants to show up wearing shorts and everybody else is dressed up?
I did.
Oh, no.
Well, I mean, and also I hated the sound of what?
Sorry.
Oh, he's whispering. Oh, I thought it was you.
He wants to know if today's Monday. No, it's not.
You slept long enough like it was Monday, though.
Yeah. He thinks the days change every time you wake up.
That's understandable. I agree with that.
But it only changes when you go to bed and then the sun goes down and then the sun wakes up again, but the sun is still up. So it doesn't count. Okay, I'm explaining this to an adult like you don't know.
But I understand his thought process. The sun could have went down and came up while I was asleep. So yes, it could be a whole nother day.
So you're just verifying the day of the week.
It's just like if you take a nap during the day. I know this is one of our tangents, but thank you very much, Deacon. You take a nap during the day, you wake up confused because you was like, oh crap, because you done slept long enough to where you think it's a whole nother day. Like I forgot you in sleep don't talk much, but for me it's happened where
don't talk much.
I have gone to sleep, woke up, and had to check the date. Like, I am so grateful for smartphones having the day on them.
Oh my gosh.
Because I'd be like, okay, I done slept so doggone good. I need to make sure the day's the same day as it was when I went to sleep.
Wow.
I woke up confused, thinking I done slept until the next afternoon. Yes, I have.
Yeah, I haven't done that in a long time.
Oh man, I did it yesterday. Actually, I didn't even know I went to sleep because I didn't know I wasn't feeling good enough to where my body was like, okay, go to sleep. I went to sleep, woke up, it was dark, and I was like, hold on, wait a minute. I'd only slept 2 hours.
I had those before I had a child. I used to have those all the time. Then wake up, eat dinner, and go back, like take a shower, go back to bed.
Yeah, that's
some good sleeping.
Actually, I had eaten dinner before that, and then went to sleep. I just didn't know I was like sick, like I wasn't feeling good. And my body was
saying when you don't feel good, that's different too.
Yeah. And so when I woke up, I was like, oh, it's 7 o'clock. Kids is already in bed. I was like, oh, okay. Well, let me get up and go. Let me just go finish this process in the bed, you know. But
start all over again. Yeah, but speaking of sleeping and naps, I think Sunday we had like the best naps ever. Because I remember like coming home from church. The one thing I didn't like about Sunday is I'm gonna kind of put the food and the sleep together. Mm-hmm. I did not like the fact, and as a kid, it never made sense to me, and as an adult, it still doesn't. I don't know about you all, but we only ate breakfast and dinner on Sundays.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Why? You eat 3 meals a day any other day.
Because you're stuck in church for 4 hours.
Okay, and you skip think lunch. About it. Okay, but that's not right. Number one, who said church needs to start In the South, we start at 11 o'clock. That's the traditional time. Now we've kind of gotten a little bit more progressive. We have multiple services. But if a church is pretty traditional and they only have one, more than likely it's between 10:30 and 11 o'clock.
Yeah.
That it starts. Who said to start right before lunch should be served? Number one. And if that's the case, when you're walking in church and they're handing you those programs, they need to hand you a snack too.
You can't eat in the sanctuary. That's the holy grail, which made no sense because you could have candy, and that's the worst. You couldn't have gum, you could have candy. Those are the two worst things, but you couldn't have a peanut butter and jelly sandwich.
I don't think it's right because babies get to have snacks in church.
They can.
So at what point does it expire? Like 2 or 3?
Oh no, I think it's whenever you could have hard candy. So about 3 or 4 years old when you can start having hard candy, when you're not worried about choking. And even then, I remember someone's like gave a kid, and I think they may have just turned 3, and the mother was like, no. I just remember seeing this. And it was like, they in church, they'll be fine. God will save them. I'm like, hold
on. Wait a minute. So, wow. Well, I don't know. I don't like that rule of no snacks in church. I think that's a devil. And that is why I'm jumping the gun. But as an adult, I choose to go to churches that allow you to eat in the sanctuary. Well, not COVID, not the COVID stuff.
What do you mean?
I mean, before COVID. I'm not eating in church right now. Yeah, I'm not taking my mask off right now.
But yeah, no eating in the sanctuary. And like I said, the last time I remember a pastor getting very, very, very angry because we were having a fellowship that day. And it was one of them like family and friends fellowship. Bring your friends and your family and we'll serve them and minister to them, blah, blah, blah. And
oh my gosh.
I say that because, well, that tactic is old. It is very old. One, if someone needs God and they, coaxing them in by food is not necessarily not beneficial, but if you're trying to reach the homeless or those without, why aren't you going to them? But that was back then where you live, you learn, you realize, hey, this isn't what's bringing people. Let's do this instead. But you have to drag people. They having Kentucky Fried Chicken this Sunday. Sister Bertha done told me, or Mother Jenkins done said that she gonna bring her famous mashed potatoes, and you like them giblets and gravy. So come on. And you getting them up there to feed them. We gonna feed them food and we gonna feed them the word. And I remember one pastor got mad because they started heating up the food around like noon, 1 o'clock, something like that. And of course, it started smelling up the sanctuary. And he was very upset at the fact that the folks were distracted. They was like, it ain't time. I don't
dismiss. The hunger distracted them. They were already distracted.
And it was basically like you sitting in school and the bell don't dismiss you, I do. And it's like, my stomach is dismissing me. You can sit here and holler all you want to, and then I think the next time he was like, all right, I see that the kitchen ministry has already started because it started, he kind of changed his tone because he's like, oh, it does smell good. Let me finish. that Sunday, there was 2 closings because the first closing was before he smelled it. The second one was, all right, y'all, we gonna go.
Yeah, let me close.
Yeah, let me go get me something to eat. Because, it's going to take him 5 years anyway to get his life together because he got to go change clothes probably because he didn't sweat all underneath that robe. And then he got to clean up something because you ain't going to take that robe off and we ain't going to smell all the must. So you going to have to clean up in your office. Okay.
Not the must.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Uh-huh. And, your wife got to go help you. And then you got to hurry up so you can come and say the prayer. So, yeah, you best hurry up because mothers of the church, like I said, they diabetic. They got to eat now.
Oh, gosh.
And the deacons, they struggling. So, yeah, but no.
And that is why my mantra is to always keep a peanut butter and jelly sandwich in my purse.
I think it's hilarious. I one day I'm gonna have to surprise, see you and be like, hey, can I see inside your purse?
Why you gotta look inside of my purse?
I just want to know if
Do
there's
you
a
want me just
PB
to
and J
pack
in
you
there.
one too?
No, I just want to see because I remember my mama growing up would say, I would tell her, Mom, I'm hungry. Like we had been out shopping all doggone day. And Mom, I'm hungry. What you think? I got a refrigerator in my purse. I'm like, shoot, we've been out here for 4 hours. You should. No. Like, golly, I don't just pack. I don't have snacks in my purse. What you think I got in here? It's
Well,
heavy enough.
if you have kids and you know they're gonna be hungry, you should pack something. But okay, there's the issue again about at what point do people think like I couldn't get it out, stomach's mature. Like in church, we say you can't eat in the sanctuary, but for some reason, babies and infants and babies can eat in the sanctuary. They can drink their milk, they can eat their little bags of Cheerios and all that.
Mm-hmm.
But there comes a point that society says, okay, nope, no more snacks in church. So same thing with your mom. At what point did you stop packing snacks in a diaper bag? No, your kid's not in a diaper, but toddlers typically you pack snacks for them. So at what point do you say, nope, if we're gone for 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 hours, they don't need to eat. They'll just eat whenever I give it to them.
And that
No, they're
makes
still
no sense.
kids. They're still going to
Yeah.
be hungry. As an adult, don't you get hungry?
Yeah. Just because you can suffer through hunger don't mean these kids are going to suffer through hunger.
All right. Like, my kiddo isn't a baby anymore, but I still keep snacks.
Girl, I have a snack bag in my car. Well, I don't now because since school started, I don't need it because I don't travel that far away, during the day. So I'm have, readily available. But yeah, either they got a snack in their hand as they go into the car, or we done picked up a snack while we out. Something, has happened.
Yes.
But during the summer, girl, I've always had a snack bag. I used one of their old diaper bags, packed it full of snacks, juice, applesauce, and it stayed in the car. It stayed in the car. Because I never knew, like, let's say accident happens. Now you stuck in traffic. You didn't know you was gonna be stuck in traffic for 2 hours. Well, you're not moving for like 30 minutes. And we know how exits are down here. If the next exit has a gas station, it ain't gonna be a gas station. You want to actually get out and get in and go get some snacks.
There you go. So, I mean, even as an adult, before having a kiddo, like, I always kept snacks. Like, to this day, I always keep at least 2 bottles of water per adult in the car. Because, like you said, you just never know if you're stuck if you're stuck in traffic, things like that. I even have, I call it the PP cup for my kiddo. Sometimes you have to have a potty break emergency. If we're stuck in traffic, can't tell a kid to pee on themselves. I mean, technically, I guess you could, but
yeah, I've had
you plan for life's contingencies.
Yes, and granted,
or emergencies rather.
Right. Well, both in a sense, because contingency is
you better have a contingency for the emergency.
Yeah.
So
it's not like back in the day when you could, because I remember doing this, but this is also back when there weren't a lot of exits, there weren't a lot of bathrooms. There were some gas stations that did not have bathrooms because of like the homeless mess, stuff going on. So they purposely did not build a bathroom for that gas station, or if they did have a bathroom, it was locked, or you had to buy something in order to use the bathroom. We just stop on the side of the road. Well, you can't do that in that track. You might get run slap over. Yes, girl.
You did what?
Yes, I remember as a kid, gotta go to the bathroom. Well, we ain't got, and then of course we don't have like Google Maps like you did then, where you could see when the next exit is. Well, we just want to stop here because the last exit that we passed was 10 minutes ago. So we're going to have to stop here, and you just going to have to pee on the side of the road. So, yeah. Oh, yeah.
Oh, my Lord.
Mm-hmm. Oh, yeah. Baby wipes was everywhere all the time. Or, I remember my mom didn't even use baby wipes. My mama had a wet washcloth in a Ziploc bag. Yes. Because why buy baby wipes when you could just have a wet? Now she would take it out, we got through, go throw it in the washing machine, wash it, whatever. But yeah. And I remember it being one. So one for 4 kids. Not to use the bathroom with necessarily. A lot of times it was wipe your hands, get your sticky stuff off your hands or something like that. But one per kid. Now, if you had to use the bathroom, of course you didn't use it again. But that's the one thing I do remember. And I was just like, my Lord, my God. Have mercy.
Ew.
Yeah. And then she take that washcloth and throw it in the washing machine to wash it when we got back. If you had to use it to wipe your butt. So yeah. And then nobody else said nobody could use it again because you didn't use it to wipe your butt. So yeah, that was something. I remember that one distinctly.
I've never heard of such.
Yeah. Well, I mean, like she said, why spend money on washcloths when I'm like, but there's only one. And it doesn't have nobody's name on it.
If she had like 4 kids, why not pack 4 washcloths? And everybody has their own washcloth.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. I don't remember them being 4. I just remember 1. And like I said,
let's just hope 4. The one that you remember was yours, and then she had 3 others that you were not aware of.
Yeah, but I don't think this wasn't like a family trip. Like we were out or something, shopping or something, and she just was like, "Here, wipe your hands off with this." And I'm like, "What is you doing with a wet washcloth?" She just showed it to me, and she was like, "I ain't got no, I did this because we ain't got no baby wipes." And I'm like, "Okay, all right."
Oh my gosh!
I just remember that going, "Okay, that was interesting," but not like I said, I don't recall. My mom wouldn't have done that. Use the bathroom. Everybody got to use the same washcloth. I just remember her doing that one time. And then I think after that, it was paper towels. She would, wet, you have some in a Ziploc bag, and it'd be several different ones. You use it and you throw it away. But that wet washcloth took me that one time. But anyways.
Wow.
I will give you one thing from my childhood that at church that I did that I don't remember doing, but I did do that was very embarrassing. I don't remember what church this was in, but my mom was obviously very cute looking because the story comes up a lot. She was very cute in the outfit she wore to church this one time. And I had a blowout of my diaper, I believe. I was a very bad child with like bowel movements and going to the bathroom, whether it was potty training or diapers or whatever. I was just horrible at it. And it exploded out of my diaper, and I was sitting in my mom's lap, and this is during church service, and that happened. And had to leave church service early. And my mom,
oh wow,
yeah, my mom just sitting there holding me in her lap, like trying to walk out, clean me up, and all that stuff. That was one thing that I was like, serves you right for putting me in that frilly dress that I didn't want to be. Now, mind you, like I said, I think I was just walking, like I was just
yes, I'm saying you were like a baby.
Yeah. But I don't remember that. Of course, I wouldn't remember that, but I'm just like, if you had me in one of them frilly outfits, I can imagine that's where my hatred started for.
Oh my gosh, you're disgruntled as a toddler, as a baby.
Yes, I hated those dresses. That is the one. If there was any church hurt as a kid, that was it. The fact that I had to wear them frilly dresses and them crazy shoes.
They were hard. Like they were not like no insoles. Nobody thought about your arches back then.
Just white shoes that were cute, and they look cute with them white frilly socks that itch.
I don't think my socks itched, but I just remember the shoes not being the most comfortable. But where I grew up, like you could only wear one brand of shoe.
Mm-hmm.
You had to have Stride Rights. So it was like,
I just remember the same type of shoe.
You don't remember the Stride Right store?
I don't.
That's where when I was growing up, that's where everyone went to buy we called them church shoes, but obviously they're just dress shoes.
Mm-hmm.
Which they sell sneakers and stuff too, but we would buy sneakers and things from other stores. But like your nicer shoes, Stride Right. Or like babies when they wear the hard bottom shoes.
Yeah.
Stride Right. So everybody had to go there. And I have narrow feet. So even as a kid, I had very narrow feet. So I would have to have a narrow width shoe. Stride Right was the only place that my mom, I guess, I don't know how expensive or cheap they were, but that's where we would go because she could afford to buy me narrow shoes. And she could find them. Like it was hard to find different widths for children. Like, adults had wide and narrow and average. But for kids, if you wanted a narrow shoe, you had to go to the Stride Right store.
I remember having the tissue stuffed in the shoe.
What?
Yeah, having tissue stuffed in the toe of the shoe because your foot wasn't
Why?
big enough. Because your foot wasn't big enough, and you had
It
to.
wasn't big enough
Yeah.
for the shoe?
Yep. So you put tissue in there to keep your shoe on. I remember doing that.
Why not just wear your size?
I don't remember. I really don't. I just know it was annoying.
Now I understand why you didn't want to go to church and wear those clothes, because like, why wouldn't you wear a shoe that's your size? Like, why would you wear a shoe that's too big?
You know what? Let's just say it was a hand-me-down because I really don't remember. I remember.
Let's call the moms. We need to have the moms as guests, because I want to ask your mother, like, come on, mom, why? Mama, no, country mama. Country mama, why are we putting? Because there are things that I know we did growing up. I would ask my, like, even as an adult, I started to reflect. And I'm like, Mom, did we do this? And she would tell me, oh, it's because. I was like, oh, makes no sense, but okay, at least you gave me a reason now.
Yeah. I
But
would.
there were things we did back in the day. We just don't know why we did them.
Yeah, that's true. I don't know. I would say because they were They had to have been hand-me-downs. It wasn't that she just purposely bought shoes that were not my size. I do also remember her saying, "Oh, you'll grow into them, so don't worry about it." Because I remember being able to pull my foot, because they were so big, I could pull my foot out of the toe part and just lay my foot on top of the shoe. And I used to do that in church for fun because it would make a flopping noise when I did it. And I got in trouble for it.
Oh my god!
But it was some entertainment that I could do. So I was like, "Put your shoes on right." And I'm like, "Yeah,
buy me the right size, and I would."
I do remember doing that, but and then there was also tissue at the back and the heel, especially if it rubbed on the heel, back of your foot. They would put tissue on the back too. I remember doing that, so it would fit perfectly. But yeah, I remember having tissue stuffed in my shoe. I remember my brother having that too, because my brother had the church deacon twos, I guess you would call them, that you just slide in, the little penny loafer looking deals without the string. It just looked like house shoes. They had little
the little like the ones with the tassels on them.
Yeah, the one with the tassels on the front. Yeah, that. I remember him having those, and I think he wouldn't. I think they had bought them like up a size because he was in that growing stage, and that's probably what it was, honestly. And because
you were in between sizes.
Yeah, he was in between sizes. Me, I don't know, because I just don't remember them buying. I don't remember buying them. Anyways, he was in between sizes, and so he had to have tissue stuffed in his. And man, he looked like somebody, old deacon, that smoked about 2 packs of cigarettes a day when they dressed him up to go to church. That junk was funny because he had the clip-on tie.
You don't call your brother Deacon Newport. Good old Deacon Newport.
Because he was hilarious looking. I was like, dude, you look. And then, of course, for boys, if you don't get them, and they didn't tailor boy suits, you just got whatever you found at Sears or JCPenney. And that suit be the shoulder pads be so big, the sleeves would be too short.
Now, that was the cool part. My mom sewed, so she could always alter our clothes, because my clothes never fit off the rack. But she could always kind of alter them to, to fit my body.
I think that was a trade that they learned, because my mom did the same thing, but she would only do it to an extent. She wouldn't, because having 4 kids, you not sitting there doing all 4. Like, you just gonna have to look like a box. That's just it. You only wear this, one day out of the week. It's not that serious. Like, she would hem the bottom of our pants. If our skirts were too long, she would hem those for us. The waist, sometimes she would hem if they were too big. But other than that, it was like simple fixes, something that could be covered with another item of clothing that no one would notice, a lump or a bump. But yeah, no, nothing. No, if it didn't fit you well, oh well, it just didn't fit you well, and you just have to do it that way, and that's fine.
Get over it.
Well, the only people that's looking at you anyway is the mothers of the church and the deacons of the church, because they also sizing you up for who can be the next leader of the church. So,
gotcha.
So there's that. So yeah. And I also remember uh going heavy into the church at like what, 10 or 11, 10 or 11, something like that. So before it was just, we went because great grandmama said we had to go, or, you know, in and out of church kind of deal. It wasn't like every Sunday we had to go. Uh, but about 10 or so, I remember my mom saying we're going to start going to church regularly. And that's when I started seeing stuff and really getting in there. And it's like, uh,
That's when your eyes get open.
yeah, because that's when you start actually seeing the social aspect of church. You start seeing the traditions, the things that you don't question at that age because, well, I'm a kid, but you do question it internally because it either doesn't make sense or that's not the path that you're, passionate about going down. So you're rebellious or you just want clarity, one of the two.
Yeah, I was that kid. I would ask a lot of questions, and sometimes my questions would get me in trouble.
Mm.
But I remember asking a question on first Sunday. I went to my other grandmother's church, and in their denomination, when females would go to take communion at the altar, they would have to put these white things on their head, like doilies or something.
Mm-hmm.
And I knew that we didn't do that at my church, and we could still take communion. So I questioned it, like, why do we have to do that? And so I asked the like right before you would have to go in the aisle and wait your turn to go to the altar, the ushers would hand them to you. And I was like, no, thank you. Because I thought they were offering. So I was like, oh, thanks, but no thanks. I don't need that. And they were like, no, you have to wear it. And I was like, I'm sorry. And they were like, you have to put it on your head. You have to wear it. No, I don't. I don't want to put that on my head because I don't know, number one, where that's been. And being African American, I'm not washing my hair this afternoon. So I'm definitely not going to put that on my head because then I have to go wash my hair and I wasn't planning on it today. No, thank you. And they were like, well, you can't take communion if you don't put it on your head. I was like, okay, thanks. And I went and sat down. Gonna miss it today.
Oh my
So
gosh, I've
I
never
just
had to
remember
do
like
that.
it's just questioning things. Like I don't believe in doing things that don't make sense. And to me that didn't make sense. And so then after that service, I couldn't rest. So I went to the pastor and I asked him, I was like, well, why do we, only, and then it wasn't everybody has to wear it. Only the females had to wear it. So that was my red flag right there.
Mm-hmm.
So, okay, only females can have to, okay, because the men are not doing this.
Mm-hmm.
And so he was like, it's just a tradition. And in our church, women have to be covered. So they put this on to symbolize the covering. And I'm like, so men don't need to be covered. And then if they don't, I'm thinking God covers us anyway. But then I have hair on my head that covers me. There's some bald-headed men in here. They don't have to have it on their heads. Like it started making me wonder, like, is this just really misogynistic?
Mm-hmm.
Or is there a spiritual component here? Like, come on, like, and I wasn't buying it.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, sorry, yeah, I wasn't buying it at all. So it was one of those. From then on out, whenever I would visit that particular grandmother, at her church, I would just make sure it wasn't a first Sunday when I would go visit because I wasn't going to do that. And I didn't want to put my grandmother in a precarious situation where she has to defend my actions or inactions. It was awkward, to be honest. But, I don't mind saying, no, I'm not going to do something. It didn't make me feel uncomfortable, but I don't want to pull anybody else in my issues either. So I would just not go to her church on those Sundays, on the first Sundays.
Right. Speaking of that, I went to a church up north, and this was around the age of 10, 11-ish. And one of their things at this particular church, and it was a grandmother's church while she lived there. And I remember reading on the back of the pew their attire rules. And men had to be in suits, women had to be wearing dresses. And what was acceptable and what was not. You would be turned away if you were wearing this. And I'm like, well, how would you know unless you sat in the pew? Like, you had to have sat in the pew in order
Right.
to know what the rules are. And
Right.
because that's where the rules were on the back of the doggone pew.
Oh, they were literally. I thought you were saying unless you're a member, you wouldn't know the doctrine, the rules, and the regulations. You're saying literally they were posted.
Yes, no, they were
So they're
posted.
not
Yeah.
they're not posted on the front door of the church so
Mm-mm.
that you would know as you're walking in.
Yeah, no, this was on the back of the pew. If it was posted out front, I missed it on my way in. But I do
Wow.
remember, my mom saying you have to wear this, and it has to be, and for the women, of course, they had way more criteria. And I thought that was just odd. You had to wear stockings, not, or pantyhose of some sort. You could not wear open toed shoes. They had to be closed toed shoes. The heels could not be but so high. The dress had to be so long. It couldn't be sleeveless. You had to have a covering. Even if it had sleeves, you still had to have a jacket on. It could not have any cleavage. The amount of jewelry you wore was, couldn't be excessive. Your hairstyle
Oh
or
my
your cover,
gosh, this is too much.
yeah, the women I think had to wear hats. They had to cover their heads. The little kids did not, but the older women, they had to. But everything that was like from Old Testament, how a woman had to present herself as a woman, and always, like, it might as well has been of some, and I'm not saying this to be ugly, but of some Muslim type teachings where they had to be covered to hide all sources of their sexuality, of who they were, because they couldn't be tempting to men. Like, that's what I gathered from reading that. And mind you, at that age, I was just getting to the point where I was understanding that there was a sexual point to having different sexes. So for me, reading stuff at this point, I'm like, okay, so this is what this is for. Like, why do women have to have like 3 paragraphs worth of what they can and can't wear, while men literally have to just basically be business presentable? And that's
Right.
it.
And therein lies the issue with our culture as a society.
Mm-hmm. Yep. Because I remember also in that was that women couldn't speak at all. They couldn't say amen. They couldn't.
What?
Yeah, no, they couldn't speak. I remember that women were not allowed, because I remember about to say something to my mom, and my mom was like, shh, and just like held my hand, like, just don't say nothing. And I think I remember my grandma saying, just like patting me, like, don't say anything. And then later on, she's like, they was like, you couldn't speak in there. And I was like, why not? I had to go pee, or, something, like, wasn't
I
urgent. It
had
was
something to
just,
say.
yeah, I had a question or something. No, you couldn't speak. Men, yeah, women couldn't. And I'm like, what? And this is 1995, 6. Yeah, 96,
Oh my
95, something like that.
gosh.
So and this was a church. Now, I don't know how that church is now. That was just then. And it's going, yeah. And they took the Bible literally, like Old and New Testament. Women don't speak in the church. None of that. You had to dress a certain way, all that kind of stuff. And I was just like, I was so happy not to go back to that church, because I straight up told my mom, I said, I would be a dude on Sunday because I don't like
Oh,
wearing
that's
dresses.
all. Okay. So okay, I'm not even gonna go there.
I was 100% tomboy, 100% tomboy. So I was ready to fight at a moment's notice. It didn't bother me.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
That was a lot of rules and regulations though.
Yeah. And it's sad that I can remember that from so long ago, but anyways, but I just, and the reason why, of course, is because I knew it was wrong then, and as well as it's wrong now. Now, if that is your personal like conviction, fine. If you don't feel good without wearing a dress at church on Sunday morning, fine. But don't provoke it to anyone else, especially if they don't have. If they
Right.
cannot
I totally
do,
agree.
and they don't have it, why would you force them to have to dress a certain way in order to be presentable to your building? Like, I'm sorry. When did you die and become God? Because last I checked, Yeah. And this isn't where he's dwelling. If he is, whew, he ain't dwelling for long because you're not welcoming. You're not into. I think I asked, or no, I asked my mom later. Do they turn people away if they weren't dressed right? She said, yeah. If you did not dress
Oh,
a certain way before it was like going to a club and you had to dress the part.
the dress code,
Yeah.
yeah.
And I'm going, this isn't a club. And that's one of the things as I got older, going, okay, cult, club, country club. You have to dress a certain way. You have to be present. You know what I'm saying? And it's like, oh, okay, got it. Makes sense to me. And doesn't at the same time.
Yeah, I was gonna say, not that you support the rationalization, but you understand why they're doing it.
Yeah. Biblically speaking, I still think it was a far stretch. Because one of my things was when I was reading the Bible around the age of 10, 11, good comprehension age, I was like, well, what was the attire back then versus what the attire is now? You know, excuse me. So like in the Old Testament, it has all the what a woman can wear, what a man can wear. Well, if everybody's running around here wearing tunics, I consider that a dress.
Oh
How
gosh.
y'all know the difference between a man and a woman? I mean, I was just asking a point, but it's like, because of how they presented themselves. I said, okay, well, what if, of course, the what if is the man, had to have a beard. That symbolizes his masculinity. And of course, if anybody's had that aunt or had that relative that has PCOS and didn't know it,
Oh my
they're growing a beard and a mustache. My thing was, well, what about Aunt so and so? I remember asking that. Of course, that was disrespectful, but I was like, well, what was she to done? And it's like, no, women had to have their face covered. I said, well, obviously, a man could cover their face and act like, well, that's why it's against the rules in the Bible. My thing is, their clothes were so close to identical, as in how they were dressed for that time period. What say you about what is required in this time period? Now women can wear pants, and it was an abomination for women to wear pants because see now they can take on the masculine role. I'm sorry. I appreciate my thighs not sticking together. Thank God for whoever said women could wear pants because it was a blessing. Me. Okay. But I'm just like, there's so many loopholes to all of this mess that, like I said, at the age of 10, 11, and 12, I'm going, some of y'all leaders of the church or some of y'all church building members and stuff, y'all don't understand. Y'all don't make no sense. Y'all just stuck in that tradition and stuck in that this is how we've always done it, that you'll never keep up with the times and you wonder why your church is quote unquote dying as
Yeah.
And it's like you don't move, you're not progressive enough, but at the same time still holding on to your values or the laws of God without being judgmental. It's like I read somewhere that there's not hate like Christian love.
Wow.
Yeah, I remember reading that somewhere and I went, huh, I can understand that. There's nothing like hate or something, something of that nature, like Christian love. All because of the damning factors that they bring forth in the isolation. And it's like, and you just clothes. We're just talking about clothes, mind you. And I'm not talking about church hurt. I'm just talking about the fact of the rules that I picked up of being more of a teenage, or preteen and actually seeing stuff. And like you said, questioning why do I have to wear this? Why do I have to do that? Just because I'm a woman? Just because I'm this age? Like, why I remember in the preteen age where it was like, you can't do this, you can't do that. And it had something to do with running, playing in a dress. Now, my mom was notorious for if you're going to wear a dress, you have to wear shorts underneath, or you're going to have to, sit a certain way. You can't play. Well, I think I was wearing shorts this particular Sunday because I learned my lesson the previous Sunday. I couldn't run and I wanted to. And I did. And I think I did a cartwheel or something. I had one of them members, one of them usher type women come up to me. You can't do that. You're a lady. And all them boys are going to be seeing them. And I'm like, I'm a child. And I remember, my mom's like, she's fine. It's not, she's wearing shorts. No, she can't do that. She'll have all these men. And it's like, later you think about it and go, what is this grown man looking at me doing a cartwheel for?
Right. It's kind of like you blame the victim.
Yeah. And it's like, oh, I can't do that because I'm in a church and I'm in a dress and these other men will look at me. Excuse me, go get onto the men for looking at me.
Right. I totally agree with that.
Why are you getting on to me for being a child?
It's easier to blame the victim.
It surely
it's
is.
It's easier to blame anyone who's not the true person responsible.
Right. But then my other thing is at that age, I realized, because then you really start hearing the gossip in the church. So-and-so's with so-and-so's husband, and the deacon was over here doing this, that, and the third. And at that age is when I started really hearing that stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And you start realizing how the women of the church of that time were covering for the men. And I was like, interesting. And I think at that point I was looking at them like, oh, okay, they're like that. And it went from listening to sermons to listening to gossip and figuring out who's doing what and who's really into witchcraft and that's why they shouting all the time. It's because they got demons of witchcraft on them. And or we were that age where we could time when someone would start shouting. That's what we would do.
Oh yeah, back in the church fun as a kid. Yeah.
We're like, all right, she ain't gonna do it now. Give it. And we sitting there counting to the music.
4, 3.
And then we'd all make like little bets, not like real bets, because of course, if you made bets in the church, you're going to hell. But we were like, she gonna do it now. And if you miss, you're like, oh man, I didn't get it. And then you'd have, then the next person would go. We used to do that. We got in trouble for that too. Don't be making fun of the spirit. Don't be testing the spirit. They testing the spirit. I'm just trying to see. I'm just trying to see if the spirit's gonna answer to them when they do that.
Don't test the spirit. I've never heard of that one, by the way.
Don't test the spirits.
Mm-hmm.
I heard that a lot. Don't test the spirit, because it is somewhere in there now. I don't think it's don't test God. Don't test God. I think that's what it is. Don't tempt. So I can't remember, but it's something of that nature. And they said don't test the spirits. So or spirit, not spirits. Spirit. So, but yeah.
Interesting.
But anyways, we can close with this.
Oh, it's time for the benediction.
And the moral of the tale, and when the disciples got finished and they fed the 5,000, and then Peter, he believed and walked on water. Yes, he believed. Do you have faith in you? Yeah.
You're like, oh, I think I do.
Oh gosh, I would die. Like, my thing is, I would do the those are the most fun times at church when you'd be like, okay, you could do it on beat when he would do it. So we, you have to watch when you did it. So we'd have to tap our foot when he take that big deep breath. You couldn't.
Oh my God.
Yeah, we would. Oh my gosh, it was the worst. It was the worst. This was before I became a PK. So, this is just me being in church all the time. And it's like, and I remember I got in trouble one time because I actually bounced when he did it. And I wasn't supposed to.
Oh my God.
I had gotten into it. And I was just like, and I started bouncing and rocking. Maybe my mama thumped me on my neck or something. I was like, my bad, I'm sorry. You the one over there.
Oh my gosh.
Preaching to the music like we having some kind of what is it, trap music now?
Oh gosh. Yeah, you got in trouble a lot.
Yeah, I did. I got in trouble a good bit. But then as I got older, I started maturing in my spiritual walk, and I still had fun. I still was like, they don't go fall out right now. It's like, yeah. Just
Oh
wouldn't
my
say nothing
God.
about it. You could just hide it better. But yes, but in the closing words, as mother of the pastor, the moral of today's story is laugh at your church past. Laugh when you were a child and you sat up in the church and you laughed at the mother whose teeth was falling out because she was falling asleep in church. Laugh at the deacon's toupee. Yes, sir, because it was leaning sideways. Laugh at the deacon who was wearing 2 different color shoes because
oh no,
he wasn't paying attention this morning. Laugh when the pastor started getting hungry. He had to close service early. Yeah. Oh, yes. Those are some good times. Yes. I could go on.
Oh my God. Yes, we totally had different experiences. This is hilarious.
Oh my gosh, it was a mess. Or I don't remember the song. Mother, you know the song, sing the song. Oh, yes, Lord. Yes. Oh, and I ruined it. And it's like, what is you saying? Yes, mother, sing it again. You know the next word. Sing it with me. Everybody. Yeah. And then I remember getting beat for that because I wasn't even saying the words right. I don't know what she's singing.
I'm not going to hell for you.
I was like, Mama, does she have her teeth in her mouth? Because I can't understand her.
Definitely not going to hell for you.
Oh, that's not. Wait a minute.
Moral of the story is never go to hell with somebody else. Go by yourself.
Go by yourself.
Go by yourself.
Oh, what was your? I don't know. I don't know the name of the song, but what was your favorite like church hymn from way back when? And then we can go.
This is gonna sound so bad. Silent Night, page 106. I remember as a kid thinking what page it was. Like, that was my favorite song. Silent Night.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. Mine was Ray Charles.
Ray Charles.
It was the name was Recharge, but it sounded like they were saying Ray Charles.
Wait, what was? Okay, I'm confused.
The name of the song was I think it was "Give Me a Charge" or "Recharge" or something like that. But when they would sing it, and I don't know what book number it is, because I will be honest, I believe most of the people at this church were illiterate. So they did not have hymnal books. You had to just go by what you remember. No. So I don't remember what page it was on, but I think the song was Recharge. But I thought that they were saying Ray Charles. And I'm not the only one in my family that thought that. And my dad thought that.
Why are we in church singing about Ray Charles?
I don't know, but that's, and then I think my dad's was Wade. It was Wade in the Water, like for the baptismal thing song.
Oh yeah.
And he thought it was Hey Little Walter. And we wanted to know why he was saying Hey Little Walter to the baptism.
Oh wow.
Well, when they're not singing clearly, and you've got
and you don't know how to read.
And you don't, okay, so it's just whatever sounds that come out.
Wow.
So yeah, but anyways, those are the moral of the day story. And we'll catch parts.
Don't sing about people in church other than Jesus.
Hey.
I had to add that to the moral of the story. Don't sing about Walter or Rachel.
But anyways, we'll continue part 2 next time.
All right, bye.
Bye. Hey, did you enjoy that podcast? So did we. Check us out for our most recent updates on IG at City Country Chicks Podcast.